and describe in a few words how it impacted you or why you think this was made for you. I know I've received private feedback, incredible private feedback from different men from different countries. I'm like mind blowing feedback, mind blowing feedback. So if you're here and you attended day one and day two, and it was not just, and one thing I always push when I organize events is that I don't want it to just be another event. I want it to alter. Let anybody who participates with an open heart, an open mind, let it alter the course of their life for good in a way that let the quality of their results begin to change because they participated in that event. That is always one of my major goals when I'm designing and structuring an event like this. So go ahead, let me know in the comment section, the man, did did this speak to you as a man? Did this challenge you? Did this make you a better builder, a better disruptor in your generation? Did it in any way contribute to that? Give me some feedback in the chat box as we get set to hit the ground running. All right. Those who are joining in from YouTube, you're welcome. Good to have you with us. All right. Thank you so much, Bernardine. Thank you. Right. Keep it coming. It also helps to design better programs. So I mean this whole, some of the things I teach, I'm teaching for 3 days for free in this community. These are things that organizations and institutions and some event hosts or conference organizers pay me a lot of money to speak in private events. Right. I did a training one time with the mentees, not with the mentees, I think with the Peak Performance Academy WhatsApp community. And I shared on YouTube. Somebody was like, is this not almost the same thing we paid you so much money to come and train us? And now you just taught these guys for free like that. Do they ever know what they got? Right. So the best you can do is give me some feedback. Give me some feedback. For every man who participated in day one, day two, and now day three, give me some feedback. Did this alter your mind for good to become a better builder, a better generational disruptor in your time as a man? Let me know. What was that? All righty. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Good, good, good. All right, let's get to it. Welcome again, everybody. If you're joining in right now, you're welcome. We're excited to have you with us as we take this a step further and execute it to a whole new level as we do part 3 or day 3 of this particular summit. And I have been having a good time, having incredible feedback from incredible people. So far, so good. All right. All right. Somebody sent me a WhatsApp message and said, I now see what I need to do to become a real man. All right. All right. All right, people. Let's get to it. Today we are focusing on something very, very peculiar. And I just noticed as I was going through again the notes and the structure of what I really want to communicate to us, I noticed that the topic for today, I will not be able to communicate in one day. So we are going to do another AppRap webinar, maybe within this month or next month for in the men's community to finish it. Because as we said, day 3, I want to go spiritual a bit, right? It's going to be mixed, both will cut across power, economy, spiritual mixed, because these are things that many people don't understand. And people understand it, they get to wield a certain dimension of influence and success. And sometimes many people are like, how are they doing this? I'm totally lost how it works. Yes, because when you don't know how certain things work, you will always be missing in the crowd. Okay, so we are going to cover a lot of things, but I think based on the structure I have in my mind, I will not finish all of it. All right, so we will stop where we can stop, and then we will proceed again. Thank God that we have a WhatsApp community, so it'll be easier to reorganize and just have kind of a one day, deeper training into this. Because if I leave halfway and I don't finish it, I will not rest. My conscience will not allow me, right? Because, and also it will not help you in a way that it should be helping you, because incomplete knowledge sometimes can cause more harm than good, right? All right, good. Thank you all for the feedback on YouTube. Thank you so much, Online Money Secrets. I don't know the name of that person, but thank you for your feedback. This was deliverance indeed. Awesome, awesome. All right, so today we are looking at, let me recap if I forget. Today we're looking at what I consider one of the ultimate spiritual laws of sustained impact, influence, and income that every man should know, right? And as I said, I'm going to cut across kind of spirituality, political power, economic power, influence, right? But it is structured in a way that if you follow, and trust me, if you are distracted, you will not get it, because it's very kind of a bit deep, kind of too strategic, but that is the best way it can be taught. Okay. And I hope I'll do my best to communicate in a way that you can get it. And I know that if you get it, it will alter a shift in your life for good. Okay. Now, one of the best scriptures that communicates this, and a bit disclaimer, if you're here and you're not a Christian per se, don't try to listen beyond your biases against Christianity. Okay. Try to listen from the perspective of, you know, truth and principles and laws that governs everybody, whether you believe in God or not. See, there are some things in life that whether you agree with them or you disagree, that is your business and that of your family, right? They will keep on working against you or for you. Okay. So, and of course, this main summit was organized under the banner of Professionals and Entrepreneurs Fellowship International, a community of Christian entrepreneurs and professionals. And we're targeting the men like we did the ladies summit in the month of March. Okay. All right. So The Bible says in Matthew chapter 6, verse 22 to 23, the lamp of the body is the eye. The lamp of the body is the eye. And in the place of body, I want you to consider that word body to be your destiny, to be your purpose, to be the business you're building, to be the career you're building, to be the calling you're running with, right? The lamp of the body is the eye. And if therefore your eye is good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? Very, very deep spiritual truth. This is one scripture, one portion in the Bible that if you want to be a man of sustained influence and impact, you have to decode it, understand it, practice it, decode it again, understand it until you get into the deep, 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 deep of what Jesus Christ was trying to communicate. And we are going to be, this is the central perspective of this day 3. And we're looking at this, I'm calling it the spiritual law of 360 degrees of understanding the spirit of things. Follow me. Don't let the title scare you, but I'll break it down. Okay. Now, for everybody right now under the sound of my voice, we have gathered here because as a man, and we have been so gracious as men to allow our fellow ladies to be part of this, right? So, but every man who is gathered here, there is something bigger in you. There is something bigger that you desire to achieve. Or for some people, they just know that there is something more they are supposed to do and to achieve, but they don't even know what that thing is. Right? But we can agree that if you are on this call right now, or you're following on YouTube right now, or watching the replay, one thing that brought you here is that you know and you know that where you are now is not where you're supposed to be. You know that there is a higher game you're supposed to be playing in your time, in your generation. You know that there is a higher level of results. There's a higher level of manifestation. There's a higher level of breakthroughs that you should be recording as a man. And this feeling cuts across everybody, whether you're starting, whether you are in the growth stage, whether you are in the bigger growth stage, but there is that yearning in you that there is more I need to begin to achieve. Now, despite all of these desires, our beliefs, and every man, you have beliefs. Our assumptions, you have assumptions. Our understanding, the way you are living life now and the results you're producing right now, they depend on your current level of understanding the spirit of things. Our default, all these things, beliefs, assumptions, understandings, default, knowledge, all these things, they shape our entire reality without some people even realizing that these things exist. There are many people here that their current reality is as a result of their current belief system. And many of them don't even know their current belief system. There is a default way of thinking that many people are running with right now, and it is responsible for the results they're producing, and they don't even know that that default thinking actually exists. You see that? Now, one of the things that the world has been good at doing, and including the enemy in quotes, is that they will push the agenda because, like I said in one of the days, One thing that many people, especially in the lower class and in the middle class, don't understand is that there are some powerful people at the top that their generations and their families have been rich generation after generation, or they have been in political power years after years after years. For example, in countries, let's say in countries like Gabon, in countries like Equatorial Guinea, in countries like Angola, in countries like Cameroon, where same families have been in power for decades and decades. You see, one thing that families like that do is that they they engineer systems, cultures, structures, beliefs, and things into their citizens in order to keep them away from the truth so that they can keep on ruling them and being in power while the people are disempowered. Because the more a group of people are disempowered and they remain in the lower class in poverty or in the middle class at best, the more they stay in power and they can do what they want, right? Now, so one big trick that these people get to do is that they don't like to keep the truth up front in the daily consciousness. Follow my words carefully. In the daily consciousness of the people. Now, how does this relate to you as a man? If you are a man and you're going to lead and become a man of impact, influence, and income in your generation, you cannot follow that pathway. You cannot follow the default system that it has been created by powerful people to keep you in that particular level. So you have to pay the extra price to make sure that you are always conscious daily as far as truth is concerned. And I'm going to explain further. That is why, as I said, I believe that one of the most powerful spiritual laws that any man needs to be good at if you're going to be a man of impact, influence, and income is the spiritual law of understanding the spirit of things. Follow me. You see, one of my mentors told me one time, he said, Joybert, life is a game of awareness and action. What do you mean? Life is a game of understanding and action. Awareness to understanding different things always play a key role in how you execute anything and build anything, right? But one-time awareness is never enough. Why? Because awareness is perishable. Understanding is perishable. So if you understand something just once or you understand just a small part of something, you can never maintain sustained impact, influence, and income. You see, because awareness is critical, which is understanding, but it is perishable if you cannot maintain it at a certain level. What does that mean? You may know something in a moment, but if you don't know it in the moment, it is impossible to act upon it. So it is not about you just knowing everything. It is about you having understanding of what is critical for you in the moment so that you can begin to act upon it. Like for example, but somebody should not bombard my inbox for any of these reasons. I used to tell people that, look, there are things if you understand about international power, economics, different things, you will never struggle to travel the world. You will never, I always say that people who try to go to different countries through the sea and Sahara Desert, it is always because of its ignorance costing them. There are things that if you understand certain dynamics, you will never struggle to travel nations. See, something I've done. I've gone almost 20 nations, 4 continents. I've never paid a flight of my own, right? There are things that if you understand and you understand certain dynamics, there are some things you don't struggle to get. You see, Jesus saying that the lamp of the body is the eye, and the eye, I said, when you hear body, put your destiny, put purpose, put your calling in it. The eye, put spiritual understanding into it. He said, if therefore your eye is good, your whole body will be full of light. You cannot be suffering if your whole body is full of light. But verse 23 says, if your eye is bad, that means if your understanding is distorted, not just any kind of understanding, spiritual understanding or a deeper way of seeing things and discerning things. If that is bad for you as a man, your whole body will be full of darkness. How will you not suffer and be in trouble and be in difficulties if your whole purpose is full of darkness? You will definitely suffer and go through things that others don't go through because your whole body is full of darkness. That's why I said one of the most important laws in manifesting destiny, impact, purpose, income, whatever, is a spiritual law of understanding the spirit of things. So, because understanding is so powerful that it shapes everything about your daily experience. Let me tell you something. Every daily experience that you experience as life, even today is what? Thursday. Everything you experience today, Thursday, in this month of June, everything you experience, it came from the foundation of your understanding. And if your understanding is shallow, you experience shallow stuff. If it's deeper, the same thing. If it's wide, the same thing. Because understanding shapes everything about your daily experiences. Because you will see and you will live life through the lens of your understanding. You will see and live your career. You will see and live your business. You will see and live your calling for those who are in ministry based on the lens of that understanding. And if that understanding is darkened, if it is distorted, the quality of what you experience will definitely be bad. So what does that mean? It means that as a gentleman attending this gentleman summit, throughout your life, you will only produce quality results based on the quality of your spiritual understanding. And here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing. All of us here, throughout our lives, men, women, all of us here, throughout our lives, we have believed certain truth, in quotes, that are only truth to you because you have been repeatedly told, or so many times you have heard it, and in turn you accepted that it is the truth. Meanwhile, it is not the truth. And that is the first path. That's the first way that understanding is distorted. For example, if you grew up in a humble family, in a financially struggling family, and anytime you wanted something as a child, anytime you wanted something that they should buy for you, and if your mom or your dad, if they repeatedly say, do you think that we get money from a tree? Do you think that we pick money from the road? Do you think that, right? If they keep on saying those things to you, they repeated those things to you, and throughout your life, you now start believing that truth that money is hard to get. And that becomes a distorted understanding as far as that lane of your life is concerned, as far as building wealth is concerned. So you don't even have the conviction to attract the opportunities to build wealth. When you want to take action that can make you money, it is always as if every opportunity that can make you money is always running away from you. Why? Because there is an understanding that you don't have. There is a depth of identity and conviction that you don't have. And until that is repaired, uprooted, or something new is planted, you can end up being 60 years and 70 years old, and there's nothing to show for, because you grew up and you accepted certain beliefs as truth. And the only reason you accepted it was because you repeatedly, so many times, kept on hearing it, and then you accepted it to be the truth. But you see, you will remain a defeated man. You will remain a defeated individual if you don't seek and have your own revelation and understanding about those things that you grew up hearing. And here's the fact: it takes courage to begin to question these defaults in a world that profits from ignorance. For example, let me go back to my country, Cameroon, right? You know that very, very good number of young people believe that alcohol is normal, like it's a normal way of life. It is like it is as important to life as water is as important to us on a daily basis. You see, that is a default truth that many have accepted, right? Let me tell you why I stopped drinking alcohol in December 2020, 2012. I never used to drink, but after high school, I got into some funny friends. They used to drink alcohol, so I started drinking into about 1 year, then I stopped, right? But here's how I started drinking alcohol. Why? But started drinking it because the repeated truth that was told around me, I started accepting it. But what made me to conquer it? When I read the book, it was a spiritual book, but they communicated a powerful truth in that book. And that man said, I don't drink alcohol because anything that has the capacity to take away my willpower and ability to think clearly is destroying my destiny gradually. I was like, that is a hard truth. Because if you take alcohol, as long, it's called a spirit anyway, and anything that is against your spirit always destroy your destiny, right? So, I'm like, okay, fine. So, if alcohol can take away my willpower, my thinking pattern, then it is literally taking away some of the most powerful things in my invisible economy, that as long as those things are destroyed and defeated every single day because of a bottle, I should forget ever being a leader in my generation. Now, the shift in the decision came because I gained access to a more profound and deeper understanding that is not found on the surface. But on the surface, when you grew up in a country like Cameroon, where it's heavily alcoholic driven, right? You will accept the truth because that is what you see consistently and that is what you hear consistently. Like somebody boldly told me one time, how can you be a man and you don't drink alcohol in a big event? To him, it was not normal. No, I didn't judge him. I knew that he was running a script that is more powerful than him, and that script can only be destroyed if you gain access to a higher script. You get the perspective. So, but again, why did I go there? Because it takes courage for you as a man to begin to question the default in a world that profits from your ignorance. Many people don't know this. Like in a country like Cameroon, in a country like Nigeria, very good at that. Country like Gabon, Equatorial Guinea, countries like that. Many politicians in this country, they profit from the ignorance of citizens. The more Cameroonians are ignorant, the more the political stakeholders in Cameroon are profiting from them. So the more Cameroonians can spend time and drink alcohol and get their willpower distorted and get their understanding destroyed, the more they profit from that. And many people don't know it. You see, because you see, Political power and economic power is not about noise. It's more subtle and more deep than what many people know. You get that perspective? It takes courage to question these defaults in a world that profits from your ignorance. Because when you go back to that scripture in the book of Matthew, it said that. Let me go to that scripture. Now, verse 22 says, the lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is good, your whole body will be full of light. Now, verse 23. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. Now, the political elite and powerful people from business to politics and what have you, they enjoy you having your full body being full of darkness because they can only keep you in bondage if your full body is full of darkness. So your light must be darkness so they can keep on profiting from that darkness or ignorance. Darkness is used interchangeably with ignorance. Okay, now, so as a man in your generation, you cannot afford to be in the same pot of soup like the masses. You have to pay the price to gain higher understanding. The good news is they don't block you from gaining understanding, but they will create systems around you to make you not to desire to pursue understanding. You see, and whether you like it or not, they work in partnership with dark forces to keep you at that level. If you want to understand how deep this is, I cannot say deeper than this because I'm being streamed publicly. But for those who are in my exclusive programs and who my clients, I get to teach them deeper than this. But let me say it and then I end there. If you want to understand that, dark forces are involved in culture. And let me go back to, I can talk about my country, Cameroon, a good number, and then Nigeria, because I've been to these countries, African setting. There's a different perspective in the West, like in the UK, Berlin, the United States, Canada, and so on. They have their own different playgrounds. But many people here are from Africa. If you, for example, have you ever asked yourself, why is it that in cigarette boxes, they tell you that it's dangerous for your health, but people still smoke cigarette? Apart from the popular, what they want the media to know, that is addiction. Yes, that part is there, but there's a deeper playground. There's a deeper game in that. There's a deeper game in that. Have you ever wondered why? Alcohol has literally nothing good that it contributes to somebody, spiritually, in their soul or in their body. Absolutely nothing. But why are people heavily involved in it? Why? You see, because there are some forces at work that they'll go to any length to keep more people in darkness and ignorance than for their bodies to be full of light. And that's why sometimes the churches fought so hard, not because of what they put on social media, because there are some of these forces that they pay influencers to speak against the church, story for another day. But one of the major reasons that the churches fought so hard is the light that many people can break into because they are in a church setting. You see, now, so what am I saying? If you are a man and you're serious about being a person of impact, influence, and income, there are certain understandings that you have to abandon, you have to break out from, and adopt superior spiritual understanding of things before you can ever see anything known as influence or impact in your generation. If not, you will do activity, you will repeat the same pattern your father or your mother repeated, and literally produce almost the same result like them, or just about 10% more than them, and that is it. Why? Because even though you are in a different generation, in a different dispensation, you are still running on the same script and programming that they did, so you produce almost the same result like them, even though you're in a different generation. How can you have social media and your parents did not have? You can reach more people than they could do, but why are your results almost still the same like them? You see, it's not just about the resources. There's a deeper game at play against you or for you. And you have to make sure you are on the right side of things. You have to make sure you're on the right side of things. Because what you build from proper understanding is what gets established. What you build from proper understanding. Many people are building from activity. That is why it doesn't last, or they don't build things that make sense or anything that creates impact, influence, or income. If you build from activity, it cannot be established. If you build from understanding, it will be established. It's a spiritual law. Whether you like it or not, that is how the person who created the heavens and the earth, that is the law he established. You can only establish with understanding. That's why he said in the book of Proverbs, a house is built by wisdom. You can build with wisdom, but you can only establish with understanding. That's why Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7. With all thy getting, get understanding. Get understanding. What does that mean? You have to go deeper and ask questions like, how does this thing work? How things work? Because people who pursue understanding of things, they ask a lot of questions. How things work? Why are they not working? Where did this come from? Or where are they coming from? And where are they going to? What spiritual law governs the outcome of this kind of results? When you ask questions like this, you gain a deeper understanding. You see, I've taken a lot of time and was reading, I've read a couple of biographies, and I went back to people who led their generations 300 years backward, 500 years backwards to read biographies about them and some articles about them. And we begin to study from emperors to entrepreneurs to revolutionaries to reformers to true movers and shakers of every generation. One thing I came to conclude is that they did not rise by charisma. No, they did not rise by charisma. They did not rise because they had passion. They did not even rise because they were very intelligent. For some of them, did they have charisma? Yes. Did they have passion? Yes. Were some of them intelligent? Of course. But there's something deeper that I discovered that many of these people commanded. Many of them rose and stayed relevant because of when you begin to study their life pattern, I discovered that many of them were strategic, obsessive, and they will pay any cost to have understanding of how things work, understanding of how every layer of the society work. When you begin to study those who shaped the generation from the past and even in this dispensation, you begin to notice that those who shaped their generation, they paid the highest price to understand what most people ignore. So, for example, if you study, let's say, Napoleon Bonaparte, if you study John D. Rockefeller. I'm reading one of his books right now. If you study, Kwame Nkrumah, great leader from Ghana. If you study Lee Kuan, this very smart politician. Lee Kuan is the former prime minister of Singapore. If you want to know how Singapore got to be where it is today, one of the most profound, astonishing countries in the world to be. In short, I always tell business leaders, please, in all you do, make sure you go to Singapore. Make sure you go to Singapore, right? Now, we want to study how Lee Kuan contributed to the rising of Singapore. We want to study, understand the mind of, how Elon Musk is building what he's building. We want to understand how, as crazy as Donald Trump is, yet he still win the presidency. He's doing what he's doing. We want to understand the movements of Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs. See, if you study these people, you find an unshakable common denominator or pattern in their life. Many of these people, they did not just learn. No, they went deeper. They decoded the reality of things. They decoded the understanding of things, not just from a superficial perspective, but from a 360-degree perspective. And they went deeper and they built what they were building from the place of advantage, not from the place of activity. Because when you understand what other people ignore in your industry, in your nation, you will always build from that advantage. I will explain. I didn't plan to go this route, but I need to explain before I come back to the spirituality of understanding, so that you understand how profound this is. And if you're somebody who studies these guys, you understand, for example, many of these leaders, when it is, they have times of the year whereby they take retreats. Some of them will go to India, China, even Middle East. Somebody will come to Africa, things like that. They'll say, you know what, I'm taking a meditation season. I want to cut off from the world so I can go deeper into understanding how things work. Okay, follow me carefully. Now, when I study these people, and every man here, please get this. These people, they seek to understand deeply a couple of things. Number one, power structures. I want to show you the kind of things that some of the people that many of you admire, or even you don't like, but they are powerful, right? And there's nothing you can do about it, even though you don't like them, but they are powerful. I want to show you what they try to understand before I come back to my notes to explain further. Now, when you study these people, they paid the price to understand a couple of things around every country or economy. Follow me carefully. Every Monday, you have to know this. Number one, power structures. Power structures. Look, if you're going to be a person of impact, influence, and income, you have to understand the power structures of your country, of your industry. If you work in an organization, of that organization, right? Because these people, they did not just take politics as face value. An average human being, they take politics as at face value. Like for example, many people take politics based on what they hear on TV, politicians saying, what they hear on newspapers and things like that. That is what they want you to see. If you ever take politics as face value, that is what they want you to see. Shall I give you a popular tip that's happening right now? How many of you guys are following the fight between Elon Musk and Donald Trump? How many of you are following that fight? Anybody, anybody aware of that? Do you know that what is happening between Donald Trump and Elon Musk is what they want you to see? Wait, do you think that they're fighting behind? Do you think they're fighting behind the scenes? Oh, come on. That's what they want you to see. I don't want to go deeper because it's being streamed public, but that's what they want you to see. If you follow and begin to believe what Elon Musk is saying, Donald Trump is saying, people like us sit and laugh at the masses. But look at how these masses are being deceived. Look at how they're being deceived, right? And that's what they are good at doing. They deceive the masses. They deceive the masses. Get you guys, the more Twitter or X is gaining attention, the more Elon Musk is making money, and a lot more, right? So they are not fighting. But an average human being will say, no, are they with Trump? Are they with Elon Musk? No, that's what they wanted to see. And because many people don't understand power structures, they take politics at face value. No, no. You have to go deeper. You have to go deeper. They study who really makes the decisions. You want to understand the power structure of your country, go deeper. Who really makes the decisions? Begin to study, how does influence flow from behind the scenes? Begin to study. As a man, understand this. Begin to study how laws, money, media, and violence interact. Just these things I've mentioned. Now look at the popular noise going on between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. These guys are good at using the media, using laws, using politics to do what they want to gain for their generation and for their families and for what they're building. And that's power structures. If you're going to be a person of impact, influence, and income, you have to understand power structures in terms of how laws, how politics, how money, how media, and how violence interact. How many of you have, many people are like, oh, people are now protesting in California and this like that. Wait, you thought that these guys, you don't know that it will lead to protesting. You think they did not know? I said, remember, study how laws, politics, money, media, and influence interact. Now, look at the fight between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Do you see all these things I'm mentioning in the fight? Right? So that's why sometimes these things happen. So my mentees will come inbox and say, you did not write an article about this one. I'm like, come on, that's for, let those who don't understand things, let them comment about it. There are some people writing articles about it because it is a trending topic. So they'll write funny things about it to get more followers. And that's seeking to be popular, right? So if you want to build authority and influence, don't try to write on the back of what is trending to do that. That's why if you follow me on social media, you see I hardly write around things like that. That's a game for babies. There's a bigger game to play, right? Under power structures, always understand this. What is the cost of challenging power or partnering with power? That's one thing that many people understand. What is the cost of challenging power or partnering with power? For example, if you're in a foreign country where presidents don't leave power, if you want to be part of that power structure or be in power, you have to calculate what is the cost of challenging the power to be the powerful person, or what is the cost of partnering with the people in power and being in power with them, right? But you have to choose one. You cannot do the two. Either you're challenging or you're co-opting with the power, choose one, okay? So people who wrote their generations, they understand power structures. Let me end there. Number two, they understand economic engines. So I'm trying to bring understanding from this industry perspective so that when I'm talking about spiritual understanding, you will not see that that's why these people are very spiritual people. Very, very spiritual people. Why do you think they join occultic groups? Why? Or why do you think some of them who are believers are very serious and staunch believers? Because they know that this thing, there's a deeper game at play. Okay? So economic engines. When you see anybody wielding power, especially economically, they have studied one, how capital flows, both micro and macro. If you don't understand how capital is flowing, both micro and macro, you will hardly command economic power. How does, for example, how does people in the poverty class or lower class and middle class, how do they get capital to do anything? Do they get it through small groups, Njangi groups, micro schemes, credit unions? Okay, you have to understand it. How does the big people, big companies, big boys, how do they get capital? Oh, they get it from banks, hedge funds, and so on. But in all you need to do, you have to understand how capital flows. Okay? You cannot claim to be pushing to be a person of impact and influence and income, and you don't understand the movement of capital. Number two, when you see people who are wielding influence and power, the second thing they understand about economic engine is that they understand the levers that move industries and countries. They understand the core elements that move the industries and the countries they are in. For example, if you are in the tech industry, if you're in agriculture, what are the core elements that move that industry? If you don't know it, you're not serious with your destiny. Trust me. You're not serious. If you are in Cameroon as a whole, what are the core elements that move that country? You have to know it. That's a responsibility to know it. Because if you don't know it, if you have dreams of being a person of impact and influence, you're just going to beat around the bush and get old and do nothing that makes sense. Okay? Next thing about understanding economic engineers, you have to understand market timings. People that wield economic power, they understand market timings, they understand resource control, and they understand value chains. These three things. Understand market timing, understand resource control, understand value chains. What are the timing? What is the perfect timing to move or do whatever you need to do? Who is controlling the resources that are critical for what you're building? Look at the value chain. What is the value chain that makes up what you're trying to build? You get a perspective. And who is in charge of that value chain? What's a value chain for those who don't understand? Let's say for me to deliver this live webinar to you, there's a value chain that is making it possible for that to happen. The people producing the internet, the laptop producers, the microphone, the camera, whatever, you see, these are the value chain. The Zoom we're using or the YouTube that we're using, all of that, those moving parts are the value chain that I need to go through in order to bring you this value. Okay? So if you are going to make sense, you have to understand market timing, resource control, and value chains. The last thing I always encourage people to understand about studying economic engines or understanding the economic engine of your country or industry is begin to pay the price to understand how nations, companies, and communities actually generate wealth. How do people in your country make money? How do people in your industry make money? The people you are creating value for, how do they make money? If you don't understand that, that's an important part of the economic engine that you're missing. Somebody who is so good at this in Africa is Dangote. Dangote is not where he is as the richest black man or richest African by guesswork or assumption. No, that billionaire, that great man, he pays the price. He's not just selling cement. No, he was able to understand that when the whole Africa, and starting from Nigeria, there was an economic void. So he started building industrial necessities and infrastructure from cement to refinery and all of that. He's not building from guesswork. No, he's building from a deep understanding of economic engines. Do you now see the role? And as I'm saying this, are many of you seeing how ignorant you are about how things work? Trust me, I'm saying from experience because I used to be that ignorant too. Right? Years ago, I'm like, you are beating around the bush, young man. You are absolutely clueless of how things work. And that's why you are struggling. The builders here, the men here, do you see how clueless you have been? You see, and that's why this divine law or spiritual law of understanding is critical for what you're building. It's critical. Now, the last thing I want to talk about that you have to understand before I come back to my notes is understand the cultural psychology and mass behavior of the people. This is one thing that powerful people understand. They pay the price to understand the cultural psychology and mass behavior of people. Let me go back to my lovely country, Cameroon. Have you guys discovered that every election, the people in power will do almost the same thing over people or through people or with people and still win the elections? Anybody, you understand that? Have you studied that pattern? You think they're doing it from guesswork or assumptions? No. It's a deep study of cultural psychology and mass behavior of the citizens. You get a point? So, if you are going to be a man of impact, influence, and power, you have to go deeper and begin to understand what is the cultural psychology and the mass behavior of the people. So they understand it and they use it against you to achieve their selfish desires or their power desires. Now, you see, this is sad to say because I'm a minister of the gospel, right? It's sad to say, but unfortunately, and this is where it has promoted a lot of fake pastors and fake prophets. Why? Because these people, they understand the cultural psychology and mass behavior of, especially in the African setting, and they run fake programs, fake churches, they do fake soap, fake water, and things like that, you see, because they understand that this is the way that people think. This is what they want. This is their psychic. So they create programs around that and they gain their, that's why you look at, but this man of God is genuinely fake. He's doing stupid things. Why are people still going there? Anybody ever question that? Have you ever wondered that? But why are they still following him? No, he's tapping into something more powerful that you are not seeing. He's leveraging on the cultural psychology and mass behavior of the masses and the people to do what he wants to do or what she wants to do. Let me go deeper on this. Influential people, business people, political people, and what have you, do you know that these people pay a lot of money to do research to understand the fears and the desires of the population? Do you know that? And do you know that based the way social media has advanced, do you know that they can analyze the the post that you comment on, the post that you like, the kind of videos that you watch? They can analyze those videos and they can guess up to 90% the kind of things you fear and the kind of things you desire. Many people don't know that. For those who are in very developed countries here, have you noticed that sometimes when you like certain videos or you have certain discussions or you comment under certain posts, you will notice that you will start having adverts of products around what you were talking about or around what you commented about? Or have you gone on Google and you search for something? And when you come and open your Facebook or Instagram, you start seeing adverts about something you search on Google. Anybody, have you tracked that? So where am I taking us to? They're studying your fears, they're studying your desires, and they're using it against you. One of the most powerful things that people at the top, they pay the price to understand is the cultural psychology and the mass behavior of the masses, especially those in the lower class and the middle class. So they pay a lot of money to study your fears and your desires. That's under cultural psychology and mass behavior because they want to understand it. Number two, they also pay a lot of money to understand your mindset and your trauma as a potential target customer. What is the mindset of these people who are producing this product for? Okay, what are their traumas? What are kids who grew up in this kind of background, in this kind of nation? What are their traumas? They will use it against you or for you. They will study what would they reject and what would they adopt. So they can look at their desires, they can look at their fears, and they can anticipate what you will reject and what you will adopt, and they use it against you or for you. One thing they are so good at doing is that they try to understudy how can we shift the mass perception and the narrative of the masses. How can we shift a current narrative? For example, how do they do this in this generation? The political party will go and hire top influencers to, they will give them a particular message and give them strategies to push that message out through different angles. Because they know that the highest people that have the ears of, that's why I don't like social media influencers, because 99% of social media influencers are puppets, they're tools in the hands of powerful people. And they use them to shift perception, they use them to shift narrative of people and to use people for their selfish reasons. You get the perspective. But what am I saying? I'm trying to show you the power of understanding. How people go in deeper perspective to understand the cultural psychology and the mass behavior of people. They also study structure of systems. I have to talk about this. They study structure of systems. What do they study here? They study the education structure. They study the religious structure. They study the finance structure. They study the healthcare structure. They study the media structure. They study all these key structures and they understand how they move. For example, I was talking to a pastor and I said, look, you cannot claim to be a pastor in this generation and you don't understand the media structure. Now, there's something wrong with what you're building. You have a message, and message moves through channels. And if you're staying dormant and adamant or not innovating and being religious in the name of being spiritual, because I told him that a truly spiritual person will use the media to save the people and bring light to the people. So if you are claiming to be spiritual and being away from social media and not using the right way, you are a religious person, you are not a spiritual person. What am I trying to say? You cannot be around impact, influence, and income, and you don't understand the structure of systems. Education is a system and a structure. Do you understand it? Religion is a structure and a system. Do you understand it? Finance, the same. Media, the same. What are the roles that govern these structures? Where are these structures leaking, and how can you take advantage of it and do something better and different? Where are the structures blind? Where are the leaders of these structures ignorant? And how can you take advantage of it and do something bigger and different? So, the perspective here is the power of understanding. You have to understand this. So, you cannot just be anyhow. No, no. That's why, like I said, is it day one or day two? You can suddenly become popular. You cannot suddenly become a person of influence and an authority. No, you cannot. Like, for example, me now gone, I'm saying, oh, I'm angry. I'm like, why is this comedian more popular than me and things like that? Come on. They can do one video skit and become popular in a day. But if I'm going to teach something like this, it can take me years of research and study and understanding and practice before I ever teach that can make sense to people and they see me as a person of authority. So for me to put one video out, let's say 5-minute video, it may take me 6 months or a year to finally come to that level. Okay, this is good for public to consume. But a comedian can sit in the morning, think a concept, shoot it with a phone, and launch it in the afternoon and gain 10,000 views or even 1 million views. That is their game. It pays them at that level, which is good. But I'm trying to show you that if you are good, remember I used the word sustained. The topic today is the ultimate spiritual law to sustain impact, influence, and income. And if you don't have these things I'm talking about, that sustenance will be far from you people. But as men, we are making up our minds to cause a shift. If this is shifting you so far, can you type the word shift in the chat box? If this is shifting you so far, I'm praying. One of those topics when you're teaching, you're praying and wishing. I pray the people are getting it, right? Good. All right, happy to see that. So let's come back to understanding. And before I go to the spiritual perspective, you see, all these things I've explained that everybody should pay the price to understand is because they are very applicable for everybody today. Whether you're young, old, man, woman, they are applicable for you. Because, listen carefully, listen, gentlemen. If you want to make a generational mark in your generation, in this time, you must pay the price of deep understanding in these areas I've mentioned to you. Power, as I said, who controls what you're trying to change? Understand the power. Who controls it? Who owns the platforms? Who is funding the actors? Whose hands are invisible or visible as far as holding the key elements in this whole process is concerned? Because when you study power, you understand that the real rulers are not the ones giving speeches. They are the ones writing the rules. They are either in boardrooms, they're in back channels, they are in contract meetings, they are different areas. So you have to understand that. Economics, I spoke about that. You have to understand how it applies to you in what you're building. What really creates value in my generation, in my industry? What really moves value in my generation? How does wealth move in this sector, in this industry? Psychology. What are people afraid of? What are people hungry for? What are people ready to follow? Psychology. Psychology. Systems. What roles are visible? What are the various structures and systems that if the people who are leading, they've understood it. For example, I was asking someone, I said, why do you think Elon Musk bought Twitter and X now? Why? He understands media structure and the role it can play across politics and economics. He said, okay, you know what? I can spend a few billions and get it, and this thing can help me make more billions later. Good deal for him till today. Big investment, big deal for him. Understand narratives. Understand narratives. What stories are dominating your culture? How can you disrupt those stories? How can you rewrite those stories? If you are going to be a person of influence, let's say you are here, you're in education, or you are here, you're in women empowerment, for example, what are the stories dominating the culture around women in your country? You have to study that. How can you now disrupt that culture? Or how can you rewrite the stories around that culture? You see, understanding comes in. Now, let's come back now to our key scripture. So Jesus speaking, he said in Matthew chapter 22, verse 23, the lamp of the body is the eye. And I said, when I talk about body, fit your calling, fit your purpose, fit your vision, fit your business, fit your career, even fit your family there, right? The lamp of the body is the eye. An eye fits spiritual understanding, fit understanding the spirit of things. If your eye is good, your whole body will be full of light. Perfect. But then in verse 23, he says, but if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness, trouble, ignorance, challenges, suffering, what have you. If therefore the light that is in you is darkness, this sentence always challenged me a lot. Can you use light and darkness? Therefore, if the light that is in you is darkness, so there are people who are living life thinking that they are living from light, but they are living from darkness. Like I see this every day through consultations and coaching, right? Like somebody came to coaching and he said, Dr. Joybert, I have done everything and I'm still failing. I'm like, no. You have not done everything. I said, you have done everything that you know. That's why you're failing. And I said, if you do everything I know, you cannot fail. Because this is what that sentence is saying. If therefore the light, so that is in you is darkness. Wait, light in you is darkness. How does that make sense? It's true. You can think that you know things and you have understanding, but your understanding is distorted. It's light, but that light cannot change your destiny. That light cannot advance you because the light in you, when you compare with what you are with where you are going to and what you're trying to build, that light is darkness. And he said, how great is that darkness? So, like I said, the word eye there is not just about eyesight. No. And this is what the big men have understood, from politics to business to governance to technology, what have you. This is what they know. That eye there is about spiritual perception. It's about a deeper understanding of things. That scripture is saying, what you see with the eyes of your mind determines how you function. What governs your internal understanding governs your external systems. That's what he's saying. And many people have the wrong things governing their internal understanding. And that's why they struggle to govern external systems. Like look at all the things I said that the big people they know, from power to structures to economic engines and all of that. If you don't have understandings of things like that, you cannot govern external systems. No, it's not possible. So you must get your lens of perception and your lens of understanding right. What is the lens that you see God? What is the lens that you see yourself? What is the lens that you see people that you're called to serve? What is the lens that you see your purpose? What is the lens that you see timing? Many people are like, but 2025 is here, that's good. But how do you see 2025 based on where you're coming from and where you're going to? How do you see with the lens of money? How do you see with the lens of destiny? How do you see industry? How do you see economics? All of these things. The eye in the scripture is talking about the spiritual perception and spiritual understandings of these things. How do you see? How do you understand? How do you see God? Like I always find this thing. What challenged me to start seeking God and spirituality for me, not from what I grew up seeing my parents or my mother or my family doing. Because I went to a Baptist school, right? So we used to do religion as a topic, as a subject, and then read the Bible. But the more I started gaining more understanding about this Bible and this God, the first question I started asking was, the God I see in Scripture was not a defeated God. He was not a suffering God. He was not a dumb God. He's not, he was not, and he's not. So I was like, no, I never told my mom, from family backgrounds in Africa, you don't just question things like that anyhow. But not my generation now, right? But from where we grew up, you don't just question things like that. But in my mind, I was like, the God in this Bible and the God of my parents, they don't relate at all. They don't relate, because you cannot serve a God of power and authority and what have you, and you're living a defeated life, nothing to show for. No, there's something missing. The Bible says he created the heavens and the earth with wisdom and understanding and knowledge and all of that. So why don't you have the same knowledge and have a better life like your God? That didn't make sense to me. So it started challenging my own understanding. Remember, I spoke about inherited beliefs and understanding. Inherited beliefs and understanding, right? So, but why did I say that? Because your eye, as in this scripture, or your understanding, is the lens of perception, is the lens of spiritual understanding. Because how you see key things, like how you see God, how you see spirituality, how you see yourself. There are many of us that we are not fully manifesting what God has sent us here to do, because there is a distorted lens that we have in how we see ourselves. Very distorted, very dysfunctional lens. You don't even trust yourself. You don't even love yourself that much. You don't even believe in yourself that much. The lens, the spiritual perception that you see yourself is distorted, heavily distorted. And that affects your external results. So the lens with which you see God, the lens with which you see yourself, the lens with which you see the people you are called to serve, the lens with which you see your purpose. There are many of us say that your purpose is big for nations, but yet you have never gone beyond your community, because there's a distorted lens you are using to see your purpose. The lens of timing, the lens with which you see timing, the lens with which you see your birthdays, the lens with which you see how long you have lived and how long you have left, very distorted. Very distorted. The lens with which you see money and wealth creation, very dysfunctional, very bad for your destiny. But you want to make money, but that lens has a problem. The lens with which you see your industry, the lens with which you see the economy or your country, that lens is distorted. So as long as that eye is darkened, as long as that eye is bad, like Matthew chapter 6, verse 23, but if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. As long as that eye, that lens is bad, your whole body, your whole life, your whole purpose, vision, calling, career, business, whatever you're building will be full of darkness. And anywhere there is darkness, there is suffering, trouble, problem, limitations, hand to mouth living, what have you. All these things are there. But then he spoke about singleness of eye. And here it talks about focus, clarity, undivided attention, purpose, aligned, God calibrated perspective. But he was communicating a powerful, profound factor for everybody. You have to pursue the understanding of how things work. Not just a one-sided understanding, but a 360-degree understanding. And I'll be showing how that works and how you can apply it. So, I was talking to a young lady, and I always like to say this, especially when I'm counseling or coaching somebody who is tense or angry. And I always like to tell them, I cannot give you counsel at this stage because any decision that you make when your head is not correct and your heart is not correct, it's not good for your future. Because if the core of your decision making, men, hear me very well, if the core of your decision making is not always illuminated, it's not always enlightened with the right revelation, with the right understanding, your life will always malfunction. It will always malfunction. There's a protocol I teach clients and some people I mentor. I always tell them, and I started doing this, then I learned that Jeff Bezos does something similar. I'll explain. I always challenge them. Any important decision, never make it during the day. If you want to even if your mind is pushing you to say yes or no, keep it. Go to bed early, wake up midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Even though it is so obvious to say yes or no, still sit down, get a pen, break down the entire process before you say yes again. You see, Jeff Bezos in his company, Amazon, $1 trillion company already, I think, he makes all important decisions between when he gets to office and 10 a.m. After 10 a.m., he doesn't make any important decision again. Every other decision, he shifted to the next morning. Why? Why is that? Because the core of decision making is in your ability to have your mind and your heart aligned and operating from the place of ease, no anxiety, no tension, no worry, no troubles, and no tiredness. Why did I come here? Because you cannot operate from higher level of understanding and revelation when you don't understand how to keep your mind and your heart in check. Like I always tell entrepreneurs, if you're building a business and the business crumbles and it crashes and you lose all your money, if in that loss, if in all that money that you lost, if you did not lose your mind and your heart, you will rebuild it better and 10 times bigger. Because you are not rebuilding from rock bottom per se, you are now rebuilding from experience, from clarity, and from wisdom. If the light in you is darkness, what was Jesus trying to also say here? He was talking about trusting only in what you know to the extent that it becomes your truth. Meanwhile, it is the truth only based on what you understand, not based on the real truth or the real fact and truth. Why? Because, like I always fondly say, you see, when somebody hears something about me, I always fondly say, whatever you heard is true, and that is your version of the truth, and I don't care, and please don't tell me. For those who are close to me, they know that one of the worst things to do to me is to tell me a gossip you heard about me. I am not interested. I don't want to know. Let the gossip intensify. I don't care. I don't miss it. It will not affect me in any way. Life continues. So keep it to yourself. And I always fondly say, what you heard is their version of the truth about me. What you have now heard is your version of the truth about me. but the only version of the truth that matters to me is my version of the truth about myself. So I don't care. I will not miss it. It will not do anything to me. It will not contribute to my bank account, to anything I'm doing. Life is good. We continue moving forward, and Jesus is Lord. Right? So I don't sometimes say, why do you have sleepless nights about gossip? Don't you have better things to think with your brain and your energy? Come on. But listen carefully. If the light in you is darkness, in other words, stop confidently building from distorted understanding. Because darkness means distorted understanding. The light you have is distorted. And that is why your body is full of darkness. And when you are building from distorted understanding or dysfunctional understanding, what you build cannot stand and cannot last. Basically, to me, Jesus was like exposing the roots or the foundation of dysfunction, especially for builders. Because when your perception is distorted, when your understanding is distorted, a lot of things go wrong, whatever you're building. I have experienced it. There are many things I used to try to build and they ended up going wrong because my understanding was distorted. If I want to do the same things, I'll do it better and bigger because now my understanding is no longer distorted. You see, this is what I always tell people who want to start building anything when they come for coaching and consulting. I'll tell them, look, make sure that what you're about to build, you're building from the inside of you. Be careful of building anything on the outside that you have not completed on the inside. It will not stand. It will not stand. But if you have completed on the inside, and this is where ideation, imagination, meditation, gaining deeper understanding, because these things, I like to call them the incubators of divine intelligence. Right? Anytime you sit to ideate an idea, anytime you sit to imagine how it is going to unfold, anytime you sit to meditate through it, right? Anytime you sit to analyze through it, what you're doing is that you are incubating what you're about to build. And when you incubate it the right way, you build it on the inside of you first. Whatever you're manifesting on the outside is what you have finished building on the inside, and you will get it right. Many people don't build from inside out because of distorted understanding. Listen, what you cannot see by revelation and have understanding about it, you cannot execute it the right way. Let me say it again. For you as a man looking to pursue impact, influence, and income, what you cannot see by revelation and then understand it properly, you cannot execute it and produce the right results. So you have to pursue understanding. So you have to begin to ask questions. I'm about to round up and then we're going to do part 2. So you have to ask some questions. Look, gentlemen, every gentleman here, you must learn how to ask key questions. There is this question I always like to ask, and it helps me a lot, and I'll share with you guys. I always like to ask myself, what is shaping how I see this thing? What is shaping how I see things? Is it emotional bias? Because emotional bias can shape your understanding. And as long as your understanding is distorted by emotional bias, you will not see the right way. What is shaping how I'm seeing the world? Is it my cultural indoctrination? Yes. There's a way, I'm in Sotman, right? There's a way that we are raised in what they popularly call Bansok. There's a way we are raised in Sok as a people that It has the capacity to distort how you see the rest of the world and almost every tribe across the world. Your cultural and traditional indoctrination can affect the way you see things, even your career, your business, even money and what you're building or influence. Cultural programming and distort your spiritual understanding. This one, very peculiar in Africa. Religious miseducation. Many believers have been miseducated. That's why we have defeated believers so much. People are supposed to be the most powerful voices in their generation. They have become beggars in their own generation. It's religious miseducation. And there are many people that are seeing life the wrong way. They see money the wrong way. They see influence, they see impact, they see power the wrong way because of religious miseducation. I was fondly say that any church that is not raising believers to get into politics, that church is not doing his or her work very well. I mean the leader of that church. If you only pray for a nation to change and you are not raising Daniels to get into government, something wrong you're doing as far as your spirituality or spiritual training is concerned in your church. Fear-based reasoning, it can distort your understanding. There are many of you here that you want to make big moves in your business, big moves in your career, but your understanding is distorted because you are reasoning from fear, what I call fear-based reasoning. You are not reasoning from faith. You are not reasoning from the trustworthiness of God. You are not reasoning from the faithfulness of God. You are like the Israelites, delivered from Egypt. They made the Red Sea, and the first thing is they start complaining and saying they're going to die. No, they were reasoning about the Red Sea from fear-based reasoning. They were not reasoning from faith, and they were not reasoning from the perspective of the faithfulness of God. Another thing that distorts your understanding is survival formed logic. Especially people who are here, if you have grown up in that kind of family, humble family, struggling with money, poverty, limitations. If you grew up in a middle class, lower class family, you have survival formed logic. You make decisions. When you think of nations, when you think of doing something big, your understanding is automatically distorted because you are thinking and trying to understand from survival formed logic because you have grown all your life surviving. You are not understanding from abundance logic, from increased logic, from possibility logic. So you have to conquer that. I know what I'm saying. Because I used to struggle with these things too. And I've met people who have done big things, bigger than people that they are richer than me like 200 times. And they'll tell me that I used to suffer from this. So I've seen it in their lives. They'll tell me, I'll ask questions. Survival formed logic. Your understanding is distorted. What about social validation? Very, very rampant in this social media generation. Your understanding is distorted because you want social validation. You are no longer living purpose. You are no longer living from the place of vision, from assignment, divine assignment. You're living life and building from social validation. Something is definitely wrong. You need to begin to ask this particular question. What is shaping how I see things? What is shaping how I understand things? Is it my emotional bias? Is it my cultural indoctrination? Is it my traditional or cultural programming? Is it my religious miseducation? Is it fear-based reasoning? Is it survival formed logic? Is it family traditions? Is it social validation? Many of these things and even more, they begin to distort and shape your understanding. And you begin to wonder, why am I not producing bigger and better results the way I want to? Because you don't have what it takes yet in your internal architecture to begin to do that. So there need to be a shift. You need to pick all of these things and begin to practice them. Because when you don't practice it, the real crisis is you begin to fail not because you lack skill. Many people are like that. There are many people here that you are very talented, very skillful. You are struggling not because you lack the skills. You know that you don't lack skills. You know you are good at what you do. No, you are failing because of either warped perception or understanding or perception that is twisted out of shape. Because you can look at people, you cannot build or fix what you don't see the right way or what you misunderstand. You cannot fix it. You cannot build wealth and prosperity from an economy you don't understand or from a nation you misunderstand. You cannot dominate in an industry that you misread or you misunderstand. You cannot dominate. It doesn't work like that. So you have to pay the price to begin to understand perception and the spirit of things. I've not even gone halfway what I plan to teach, but time is up. When we met, I'll announce it in the group tomorrow, the day we're going to meet again, and we're going to do Gentlemen's Summit bonus extra, right? It was supposed to be a 3-day summit, but now 3 days is over. We have not had, because I don't want to end this halfway. When we met the next few days, I will now take us through the spiritual law of 360 degrees understanding of things, how it works and how you can build it and begin to practice in your industry. And I'm saying so because, look, everybody is called into a sector, into an industry. So when you take this, you work better with it if you know your purpose, your industry, and your vision. I can use this better the way I've been using it because I'm using it in the work I do. And I'm not in the tech industry. I'm not in agriculture. I'm not in whatever. I am in what I do. So if I use this here, I will see things and do things and speak and teach and train and consult and coach in ways that people are like, how do you understand these things? No, because I'm functioning for my calling. So I understand it. Same as if you pick the concepts and the principles and apply it in your own industry, in your own sector, you will be able to do things also in that area. And I will look at you and say, how do you do these things? You get the perspective. But I have given you a lot already, a strong foundation around this perspective. There are things here that you have to go through again and again, and get it right. Because I am teaching you things that have taken me years to study, understand, and know how to do. And like I always say, sometimes I can take 5 years, study, research, and practice, and teach in 60 minutes. So, but you don't need 60 minutes to understand it. You need to go through over again. And as you're going through, contextualize it into what you're building. Don't go through abstract. How do you go through it? Okay, Dr. Joybert said this. How does this apply to me, my work, this season, and what I'm building? Be very context driven. Don't do it in thin air. It's not going to help you. Okay? Same as if you just listen in thin air, it will not help you. But go and contextualize it, and it will be a blessing to you. All right, people. Officially, that is the end of the Gentlemen's Summit. It was a 3-day program, and I believe that for those who spent 3 days with us, it marked a turning point in your life. I'm believing so. And again, we're keeping the WhatsApp group because I would like to keep the group because I would like to keep on hosting kind of webinars for those who are interested on different things so that we can keep growing together and keep learning together. And there are many great people in this call right now that I would like to invite them to also do some trainings on different things that they are good at. Okay, so if I reach out to you, my friends who are here, know that I need you to partner with us. Let us raise a group of powerful men. Okay, all right, people. If you were blessed, if this was impactful to you, can you type the word impact in the chat box? If you have questions, I can take 2 questions and we're good to go. I like this question. Is it possible for a believer to get into our today's politics successfully without getting their hands dirty? Why not? Why not? And when you say, somebody said this, and I asked them, please describe what do you mean hands dirty? And they said a few abstract things, and I asked them, did you experience it yourself, or it's what you grew up hearing that politics is dirty and you cannot succeed if your hands are not dirty? You have seen somebody's hands being dirty, what they did, and their hands were dirty, or it's what you grew up hearing as stories and you believed? He was looking at me. And I told him, look, don't run away from politics because of what you grew up. There's no industry that is not dirty. None. None. If I tell you things I see, there is no industry that is not dirty. None. None. If you have not seen it, you're still a boy at a lower level. When you keep rising, you will see things and you say, what? Truly, there's no industry that is dirty. Okay? So, you can be very successful in politics without getting your hands dirty, whatever dirty means to you. There are many people who have done it. Okay? So you can do it. You can do it. All right. Any questions? Thank you for the feedback. Okay, somebody asking for mentorship. Send me a WhatsApp message and I'll talk to you and see if, because now I'm very, very selective with those I'm accepting for mentorship because I don't want unserious people. All right, so send me a WhatsApp message. Are you in the WhatsApp community? And I will talk to you. For everybody who sends me a message requiring mentorship, please, I've seen your messages, but I'll reach out to you because I always have some questions to talk to you one-on-one to be sure that it is something you want to do and I want to do. Okay. All right. All right. If there are no questions, thank you all so much. If you're in the WhatsApp group, wait for announcements on when we're going to have Gentlemen's Summit Extra, just one more day for me to finish this part 2 of this particular topic because I just break into the middle. So I still need another 1 hour, 30 minutes to finish what I have in mind for us as we round up this particular topic. All right, people.